newspaper time here on the programme. Nick's just showing me, in fact, the New York Times, a piece down here pointing out the Trumpian principle, never ever telegraph your military moves. Perhaps slightly ironic, bearing in mind his tweet of the last 24 hours, Nick. All the papers are talking about it, aren't they?
Indeed, yeah, the world papers are covering this tweet from Donald Trump, the US president, and he's saying the missiles are coming. That's a threat to Russia specifically and to Assad over this suspected chemical attack in recent days. Let's go to one of the other main US papers, the USA Today International Edition for this Thursday, which shows in a cartoon Donald Trump running naked, bar his tie, with his Syria policy depicted as reeling from the impact of chemical attacks there. The heading for that cartoon is barrel bombs. So you can sense the disarray and the panic there in that one picture. And the Washington Post, in its editorial approach to this, is arguing very much the same thing. We've got disarray on our hands here. Twitter disruption. He's choosing impulse over strategy as these crises mount, not just the question of Syria. Now, the paper is saying that what we've got here is somebody who is just a tornado of impulses. So the quote is from a Washington aide, a White House aide, saying that basically they're getting up in the morning and what have they got? Trump Tower on fire. Michael Cohen's office is raided. We're going to war with Syria. And so they in the White House are unable to respond. There is, the quote there is no proactive strategic thinking, which of course we can guess just by what we know from our position here.
You've been looking at some of the Russian newspapers as well.
Yeah, let's go to Kommersant, which is saying that, don't forget, the initial deadline set by Trump was 24 or 48 hours, and that has gone. That deadline has gone. A riposte is already being drawn up by the Russian authorities to get ready for any targeting of Syria and Assad. And that riposte will be if there is any escalation in the conflict. So the Russians are listing what they will do. Let's go to a reaction from Damascus about events now with Al-Watan, which is closely tied to President Assad, and now it's saying that the Russians are very much hoping that sense will prevail. It's saying that what we're seeing here is actually the West seeking to hike up tension over the fact that Eastern Ghouta has been lost and the Syrian government have won that battle. So that's the take for the Damascus paper, Al-Watan.
Okay. Well, we're going to move away from Syria. Back to Washington, though. Mark Zuckerberg has been centre stage in 2 days of hearings. What are the papers saying on that, Nick?
Well, this is Le Figaro saying here, Facebook, a giant tottering, wobbling on its front page. Let's go to another paper, the Financial Times, why not, which is actually saying that he's actually pulled off a coup here. He was staged an acrobatic display in what was a congressional circus. Now, it says that he managed to make statements without actually committing to a thing. That was successful. One of the quotes in the FT is, the last 48 hours have been the most pivotal in Mark Zuckerberg's career. He performed above expectations. And what did we see? Elected officials who were just failing to come across as united on how they can deal with any proposals for legislation in terms of the technology and the problems that Facebook represents. Now, that's echoed by a piece in Bloomberg on its website, if we can go to that, written by Jonathan Bernstein, who actually says what we saw actually was not Mark Zuckerberg, but a bunch of old fogies, especially in the Senate. We had a lot of people who were just not familiar with life after the 1980s and 90s, basically. So, and that piece there, the Facebook hearings show Congress needs fresh blood. Really, it turns out, when I read it, it was just a long list of senators who are like over, even recent ones who are over 60 and older, and there's just no new generation, and they're not pitching the right questions to Mark Zuckerberg. So one of the comments is, if the Republicans hadn't got rid of the Office of Technology Assessment, those senators would have been able to ask better questions. So that's the Zuckerberg take for the US press.
OK, Nick, thank you very much. Nick Rushworth there with the papers here on France 24. Thanks a lot.